Hello. I'm sure you're surprised to see me here on a new face on the AM show this morning, and you're wondering what we are up to. Relax. My name is Bridget Jogbenuku, and I'll be here with a host of other women as we commemorate International Women's Day today, 8th March. International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, and cultural and political achievements of women. If you're a woman out there, I say, well done, congratulations. I particularly like to say, well done to the host of women in Ghana trying to make out a living for themselves and for their children. If you're a woman out there, well done. Be proud and celebrate the day. Former gender minister and my good friend, Nana Oye Bampuado, will join me shortly. Today, we focus on the theme for the International Women's Day celebration, which is digital, innovation and technology for gender equality, which highlights the role of innovative technology in promoting gender equality and meeting the health and developmental needs of women and girls. So stay with us on the AM show as we take a look at this, and also as we expect President Akufo-Addo to deliver his State of the Nation's address in Parliament later this morning. Let's take a breather and we'll be back with the AM news shortly.
Good morning. Welcome to AM News. My name is Dr. Akosia Edushimwa Amoa. Our first news. Member of Parliament for Ashaiman, Ernest Nokbey, wants Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, to order a parliamentary probe into the military brutality meted out to residents of Ashaiman. Videos have flooded social media of the military beating up civilians after a soldier was killed in Ashaiman. We'll hear from him in a bit. First, our cameras captured what some residents of Official Town and Taifa, both suburbs of Ashaiman, endured Tuesday dawn when some irate military men woke them up to avenge the alleged murder of their colleague.
This is the street of Official Town, Ashaiman. This is where we understand some military men came to brutalize residents of this community Tuesday dawn. We are told somebody will knock your door, and then when you come out, you are picked. And some of them were brought to this joint where they are asked to lie down. Some of these residents have been telling JoyNews the troubling experience they had at the hands of these military men. You are here. Tell us what really happened.
Oh, personally, I don't know what really happened, though, because every blessed day we do go work and every day. So this dawn, I was just indoor when a lady in my house shouted, "Obin Jimmy." So we came out, tried to find out what is happening. So immediately we came out, gun is being pointed at us, and they asked us to lie down. So we asked, in the process of lying down, they start hitting us with wire, wood log, and metallics and stuff. From there, they march us from the house to the street, to sleep on the street, to roll. In the process of rolling too, they are hitting us. And they sent us to a T-junction at the top here. That's where we went and met a lot of men are being kept there. So we were asked to do arm pressing and stuff, roll on the floor. On the process of doing all those things, they use a metallic. I don't know what sort of metallic is that. And they use it to hit my arm in the process of doing the press up. So as you can see, there's a swelling aspect of my arm than this one. And even if you look at my back too, there's a little, by then I was wearing shirt. So it wasn't serious at that point in time.
Oh, so yeah. Those are the marks?
Yeah, those are the marks. We were indoor. This man and I. And the third person is in right now. I don't know what is happening to it. Because by the third person is not wearing anything, only boxer. Only boxers is wearing. So their own is much terrible than mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were not told anything. You weren't told what you've done.
So as we lie down, they are brutalizing us. The question they are asking, who asked you to kill the military man? And I was like, I don't know what they are talking about. I know nothing about what they were saying. So they even used PVC pipe to hit my head.
Wow.
And it broke into two.
Thank you. So let's still speak to more people who are victims to this brutalization that has just occurred. There's another man here, I'm told. He's also been subjected, or he was also subjected to these beatings by the military men. Chief, grateful. Tell us your deal as well. Narrate to us what happened to you.
Okay. I was in a room. I was sleeping. So I heard the woman voice shouting. Then, so I woke up. I was sitting on the bed. Then I heard my door knock. So I wake up and I opened the door. I did not see anybody. So I opened the trap door. Then I get out. So when I get outside, then I couldn't see anybody. Before I knew there was a military man standing there. And when I saw these people were lying on the bed, then they said I should come. So the time he knocked the door, he go and hide so that you will not see her. So then they said I should come. So they said, what am I doing here? So I am working here. I'm working with this company. And they did not even allow me to say anything. They started beating us. Beat us, let us roll on the ground from the house. Then they brought us here, 3 of us. Then we came and met one of the guys too. Then they marched us to that side. They beat us, let us do the exercise, even our head and our neck, that we get mine and kill military man. We get mine and kill military man. So I was bare-chested like this, and they say, oh, then you get body too, and see what they have done too. If I remove this visual, my head and my neck off. My head and my neck off. You see, so actually we don't even know anything about this. It was even raining. If you see the way they treat us in this, beating us left and right with metals and rods.
3 of your children have been taken away.
Yes, please.
What were you told?
Well, around 5:30 at dawn, I went to funeral at my village, Ziaviho. So the eldest one called me that, Daddy, the soldiers have come. They were banging the gate. Where are you? And I told her, we have not yet come. He said, no, they are banging the gate. They are opening it. We said, don't worry, we'll see what we can do. Just before then, he said, they have entered the house. They have gotten into my room. I said, what is happening? He said, then we are hearing the banging. Bah, bah, bah. Ah! Before we realize we cannot hear of him. When we call, the phone is not going. We don't know what's happened. So we have to call neighbors. We call neighbors to see what is going on. Eventually, I realized that 3 of them has been forcibly taken, and armed civilians. What crime have they committed? We don't know. So I have to leave whatever I'm doing to rush down. Right now, I'm coming, and then this is where you are meeting me in the house. They first opened 5 of the doors, used a catapult to break some of the louver frames and the glasses. Yes, and then broken all the levers around. A lot of things have been it's haphazard in the house. They were 4. One of them managed to escape with bruises. You have seen it yourself. They back all. They use whatever they get to beat them up. In fact, it is not a good sin. Very, very mesmerizing.
So as we speak, do you know where they took your children?
No place. No news about them. Their phones have been seized. How can I contact them? Yes. So I don't know where they are now. I don't know. And I don't know what to do. So I'm going to report at the police station officially that my children have been abducted from the house, so that we'll take it from there.
Some of the residents who were picked up from their rooms in this neighborhood were asked to swim in rainwater in this environment. Now, the people in this area are asking for one thing, that government and the military hierarchy will delve into this matter and ensure that all the military men who are involved in this are brought to book. But will this ever happen, and when will this happen? Nobody can tell, but it lies in the womb of time. From Taifa in Ashaiman, for Joy News, I am Samuel Kojo Brace.
We can now hear from the MP of Ashaiman, Ernest Nogbe.
So far, they have to recall their men back to the barracks, and I'm also making a statement on the floor. The Speaker will have to refer this matter to the Committee of Defense and Interior, which I belong, and so that we probe into it, because this is becoming one too many. Any time, any day, a military guy is being touched, which I say on authority that it is not the right thing, not even a civilian's right, human rights should be taken off. So, but any time this is done or this occurs in any community, you see the military trooping in to just create unnecessary tension. It happened in Y, it happened in so many other areas. Yes, civilians might have been taking the law into their own hands, but that does not warrant the military to also act the same way, because two wrongs never make a right. And so I'm urging the command to call their men back and the Speaker to institute a probe into this matter, and so that this thing will become a thing of the.
Still in Parliament, some MPs say they expect the economy to be the focus of President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address today.
We are expecting that the President will come tomorrow to give us some hope, and obviously we derived some information from yesterday's independence, CCF independent, and the President gave the assurance that obviously he's somebody who's going to make sure that we bring the economy back on track. So we believe in the President and believe in the President's team, and with the support of the Vice President, obviously tomorrow we would expect the President to give Ghanaians some sense of hope and assurances, and also expecting that the IMF would be something that will be approved by the middle of end of March. So our expectation of the President is to just reiterate and give us the confirmation and assurance, not only to we the parliamentarians, because the President is the President for the whole country, and the Ghanaians are expectant to hear something good and encouraging. And we know the President is somebody of steam, and we know times have not really been well, but obviously if you're a leader, it's not every time. It's the more challenges you face that makes you a better person. So obviously we expect the President to touch on the economy and to make sure that the economy, the assurance that is needed as part of his speech, and also to gather the unity that is needed in respective of other political parties, whether NDC or MPP, should unite the country, and we have patience with the President.
We realize that a lot of promises have been made in this country. As we speak today, all contractors are not on site. Being road, hospital facilities, any government contractor has abandoned sites. We expect the President to come out and say the reasons. If it is financial, let us know. We expect the government to say something about it. We expect the government to say something about the vaccines which are not available.
Firstly, he's supposed to come and tell us the state of the nation. Where are we? Where are we going? What have we done? Clearly, I mean, there are some strides that we've achieved. He's supposed to tell us about that. I mean, there are some good things that I'm sure the President is going to tell us. We may not hear everything good. Yeah, of course, we all know we are in challenge, we are in hard times. We should expect the President to tell us some of the things that we are doing to remedy some of these things. So obviously, yes, we are expecting the President to come and do the needful. And I'm sure he certainly has been doing it, and he's come to do it better once again.
I don't expect him to say what Ghanaians expect him to tell us tomorrow. He's going to be blaming the Ukraine war, he's going to be blaming COVID. These are the things he'll be talking about. He's not going to tell us the true state of the nation. If President will be a genuine statesman, I expect him to give us reasons why we are not able to procure vaccines for the children who are suffering up north. He should be able to give us reasons why Ghana is struggling to get support from IMF. He should be able to tell us that the nation is struggling, and so he's cutting down his expenses. He should be able to tell Ghanaians that the nation is choking, and so he's ready to reduce the size of his government.
Away from Parliament, while West District Director of Health, Dr. Cecilia Kakraba, is worried about the lack of electricity and water in most health facilities in the area. She notes that this is negatively impacting service delivery. Dr. Kakraba was speaking at the annual Health Sector Performance Review, from where Rafiq Salam reports.
The West district in terms of land size is the biggest in the Upper West region. The district has a total population of a little over 98,226 communities, placing second fiddle to the one municipality. It has 58 health facilities that includes 45 functional CHIPS compounds, 9 health centers, 2 private health facilities, and 1 district hospital. Speaking at the West District Annual Health Sector Performance Review Conference, West District Director of Health Services, Cecilia Kakraba, disclosed that the district chalked major successes under the year in review. Key among them is the 0 cases of maternal deaths, reduction in home deliveries, and teenage pregnancies.
We recorded 0 maternal deaths in the year under review. We were able to improve the first prime antenatal registration. We also reduced home deliveries. We increased functional CHIP zones, and we improved all the EPI indicators, expanded program of immunization indicators, and we increased the 4+ antenatal visits. We reduced teenage pregnancy, and we increased in IPT3 percentage.
These feats, according to Cecilia Kakraba, was achieved through sacrifice and commitment by the health workers. Beyond the achievements are challenges ranging from lack of electricity at health facilities, inadequate water facilities, and motorbikes for personnel.
Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Pius Hajide, has assured of the timely completion of the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu. He says the contractor would continue work unabated and complete the facility, which hosted the National 66th Independence Anniversary Parade.
Construction works, which began on the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu in 2018, stalled after 24 months of work. According to the government, it was cash-strapped, hence decided to construct the 10 youth resource centers across the country in batches. Work resumed on the 5,000 sitting capacity facility in January. It was put in shape to host the National 66th Independence Anniversary Parade on Monday. Pius Hajide is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, the government agency supervising the project.
Today, we had the opportunity to market the tourist and investment potentials of the Volta region. See His Excellency's vision, and we are excited that the 66th Independence Anniversary celebration was beautifully and successfully held at one of the 10 youth resource centers under construction across the country. I believe that this celebration should put to rest the unsubstantiated allegation that these projects have been abandoned. We see it for ourselves. They marched on the park, they marched on the running tracks, the floodlights are up. And I believe it should put to rest the matter of whether these youth resource centers that was started by this administration has been abandoned or completed. There are 6 that are at the same stage.
However, there is more work to be done to make the facility 100% complete. The pitch needs extra work to provide a suitable playing field. Pavement works were halfway done at some sections, while the entrance at the east gate gets flooded during downpours.
See that the place is virtually completed. There are a few groundworks that have to be done, virtually the grassing, and we did not proceed with the grassing because we know that a lot of the people who walk on the grasses, if we had planted them, the human traffic, the volume of traffic we have seen we are sure that they would have walked on the grasses. And so we thought that the grassing, which is the only outstanding matter, should be dealt with after the events of today. And we are still on course towards the grand commissioning of this and other of our facilities. This facility belongs to the National Youth Authority. The governing board of the National Youth Authority shall take a decision. We are careful. We are concerned about the culture of maintenance and various options, including a third-party private sector participation by way of managing the facility are being considered.
It is the expectation of residents that the facility would be fully completed in the shortest possible time. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Adaklu.
The Agogo Presbyterian Girls Training College is one of the colleges that has produced some of the prominent women in the country. However, the school is saddled with infrastructural challenges as a result of the growing intake. Principal of the school, Reverend Dr. Grace Frimpong Adachi, has been speaking ahead of the Homecoming and Founders Day events this month.
We want our own students, philanthropists, NGOs, and those who love female education to come back to this campus to help us also solve some of our challenges. We would want to wall our school. We would want to do some pavement tiles all around, maybe from the gate to the administration. We are also pleading that philanthropists, NGOs, and those who love the school and female education will come and help us build science lab. We would want to go through some mentorship processes because the school has produced a lot of able women, a lot of female teachers, tutors. Many completed here and also did a further study, and now they have their degrees, PhDs. Some are research fellows, professors in some of the universities. We are calling all old students back home to the college. And also we want to remember our founders, that is the missionaries, facing from Slata, Eni, the Bruna, and our Ghanaian women, Anoche, and many women who had helped for the school to come this far.
That will be all. Stay tuned for more.
Welcome back. This is the news review segment.
Yes. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. I know you.
You are Bridget Jogbenuku and I'm Nana Oyebampo Adjo.
Yes.
Yes. We're happy to be here this morning. Where's your bell?
Which bell?
Well, let's go back 40 years. And good morning. Happy International Women's Day. I'm really excited to be here with Bridget. Bridget was in charge of Wesley Girls High School.
Oh, wow.
Several years ago. She would ring the bell to wake us up. She would ring the bell for lectures, and she would also ring the bell for lunch, which was my most favorite time of the day.
Yes.
That is
because you were the
1:40
dining
PM.
hall prefect.
Yes. And she would ring the bell for Grace.
Yes.
In the dining hall. So, well, welcome. What are we starting with, Bridget?
I'd like to start with the Statesman, the Daily Statesman, and the big headline is Akufo-Addo addresses the nation today on economy, security, high on agenda.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, until I walked into the studios, I hadn't heard that it was
surprised.
Yes, well, that we're going to listen to the president deliver the State of the Nation address. they're talking about security and the economy. Yes, it's obvious. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's nothing new. We all know what the state of the nation is. I don't know what he's coming to say, if he's coming to try and reassure us, or coming to list the things and probably give us reasons why it's the way it is. Most likely to say it's not our fault. But economy, yes. I mean, we know it. Inflation is 55%. The economy is about 55. The inflation is about 55%. Our debt to GDP is now over 100%, I'm sure. So, and security, we all know what's happening up in the north in Boku. We know what's happening in, what's just happened in Ashaman, which is a security risk as well. So I hope that he's not only going to state what's give us the state of the nation and not give excuses or reasons why it's a so, but actually tell us how these things are going to be addressed. I think that there are other issues. Our children and our youth are affected. Education is in disarray. Our infants don't have vaccines, which is, I think, the most serious of cases. Is that, I mean, this is our next generation at risk. And these issues really must be addressed, and not, there shouldn't be any passing of the buck here.
Yeah. I mean, Bridget, it's very true. I mean, the state, what is the state of our nation? We are at one of our lowest points in our 66-year history as a nation. It is significant that we commemorated our 66th year after independence on Monday. And it's a dire situation in Ghana presently, especially in terms of our economy and the harsh conditions in terms of unemployment. And then, like you have said, from cradle to grave, we have issues. No vaccines. You go to the SHS or JHS, we have issues with the free SHS program, where even schools are not able to feed their students. And it goes on and on throughout the stages. And I've mentioned youth and youth unemployment. So it is a dire situation. I'm hoping the president will take responsibility, give us the true picture of the state of the nation, and have solutions for the various challenges that we are facing as a nation. So we are waiting for him to speak the truth in terms of the reality on the ground in Ghana presently, and then also to offer recommendations and solutions to these huge problems.
Well, we are hoping for a lot, and I hope that we are not disappointed.
I hope not.
Also on the statesman is GRA exceeds revenue targets by 6.5 billion over a 3-year period. I bought a bottle of water in Melcombe, and when I looked at the taxes that were applied to it, it makes sense that they would exceed that, the 6.5 billion. Intim urges CEOs to support NPP's 2024 campaign. That's the Daily State.
Yes, I'll go to the Finder. The headline for the Finder: marauding soldiers unleash mayhem and brutalize residents of Ashaman over the killing of a soldier. The story is on page 2, and it talks about some marauding soldiers yesterday unleashing mayhem on residents of Ashaman in the Greater Accra region and brutalizing residents in the area. They invaded places such as Taifa, Newtown, Official Town, Valco Flats, and some parts of Middle East, all in the Ashaman municipality. There were 2 military helicopters who provided air support and armored tanks, and they invaded the community with military vehicles, including armored tanks and 2 helicopters, and they were there to avenge the death of their colleague Imoro Sharif, who was allegedly killed by thugs in the area. This is from the 3rd Battalion of Infantry. This is despicable.
Yes.
To say this is despicable.
I think the
Times
also picks up the same. The main headline on the front of the Ghanaian Times.
Yes.
Says military swoops on Ashaiman, beats arrest over 72 residents for questioning.
You see, Bridget, the problem is that our constitution is very, very clear about the duties and responsibilities of the military. The military have no business. They are abusing their powers.
Yes.
What they did yesterday was a clear abuse of power. And I was just before we stepped on, I was reading a statement from the military high command. And I think I'll just, yes. And this is a statement issued by the Department of Public Relations, General Headquarters, Burma Camp, Accra. That is signed by E. Agri-Kwashi, Brigadier General, who is the Director General of Public Relations, that the personnel of the armed forces on Tuesday, 7th of March, conducted a swoop in Ashiaman and its environs in a manhunt for some criminals who are suspected to have stabbed and killed a young soldier. The Ghana Armed Forces wishes to state categorically that the military operation was sanctioned by the military high command and was not to avenge the killing of the soldier, but official the perpetrators of this heinous crime. Brigadier General E. Agri-Kwashi and the Ghana Armed Forces, we state that you do not have the power to conduct a military operation sanctioned by the military high command in Ashiaman. We regret that a young soldier has been killed. We do regret that Trooper Sharif has been killed. But we have and exercise the rule of law in Ghana. And this should have been done by the police. You have violated the rights of the residents of Ashiaman by this inhuman acts, rolling in the mud. This is torture. So Ghana Armed Forces have actually tortured the 72 and other residents of Ashiaman. And all those who issued this command, all those who conducted this command should face the full rigors of the law. And I'm hoping that Parliament takes this up and questions the Ghana Armed Forces. This is totally wrong. I mean, and it is significant here again that after 66 years of independence, we should have the soldiers behaving in this manner. And the Ghana Armed Forces has the impunity to actually issue a statement and say that this was sanctioned, this illegal, unlawful act of torturing of innocent residents of Ashiaman was actually sanctioned by the military high command. It is totally unacceptable. Yeah. And we condemn this with all our strength.
Yes, I agree with you. The torturing of innocent people was completely out of order, regardless of the fact that, yes, we sympathize with the family and all the friends and relations of the officer who was stabbed and killed. But if this is a manhunt for criminals, I think that the police, we're going according to our constitution and our laws, the police should have been involved and not using brute military force. This statement actually does not put the military in good light. It actually puts them in very bad light, and they might, as they say, they must come again. It doesn't explain away the brutalities that they meted out to the people of Ashiaman yesterday. We will now be joined by Joyce Lanyo, who is Country Director of International Child Development Program. She's joining us via Zoom for this segment for the newspaper review so that she can also talk to us about International Women's Day and about SONA, the State of the Nation's address.
Is
So
she on?
we don't have her yet. We will. Hello, Joyce. Good morning. You need to unmute your sound, please. We will go back to Joyce when we have her.
And Bridget, you see, even in the third paragraph of the Ghana Armed Forces statement, they say the soup was not targeted at innocent civilians. But it was an intelligence-led operation. I'm wondering which part of this operation was intelligence-led, that you still use the old tactics of stripping innocent civilians, letting them roll on the mud and what have you. And these are acts of torture and very, very inhumane to actually do that. And that is why the police are specially trained and they have those skills in terms of being able to use their investigative powers to fish out criminals.
And I wonder how torturing of so many people would be able to bring out one person who had stabbed or killed the soldier. It was quite unfair. If you look at the news item that the doctor read and the videos that came out, some people were indeed very innocent. They didn't know what was going on. All they saw was that their streets had been invaded by soldiers. And that's a lot of intimidation. And it's criminal by itself, the way they went about it. And I think that Ghana Armed Forces, as I know them, ought to clean up this image that they've created. It's completely out of order.
I mean, this Brigadier General Agriquashi should immediately withdraw the statements, this press release. It is totally, it's totally out of order to think that such a press release would come from the military high command, from Brigadier General Agriquashi, Director General Director General Public Relations. It's totally out of order. The Ghana military, Ghana Armed Forces is out of order in terms of the coup it conducted yesterday at Ashiaman. I'm happy the Member of Parliament, Ernest Nogbe, has spoken to it, and he should lead the process to ensure that the people of Ashiaman get justice, and never again should Ashiaman be subjected to such cruelty, such violation of human rights, inhumanity, and torture by a public institution who receives revenue from the citizens of Ashiaman.
Ashiaman and or anywhere else in Ghana.
We will not accept this. Okay. And the Commission on Human Rights should take the Ghana Armed Forces up. And I'm hoping the President in a State of Nation address will also condemn the Ghana Armed Forces. Bridget, there's also a statement by the Minister of Health on vaccines. It's actually also on the Finder, page 4 of the Finder.
And it's on the Ghanaian Times as well. But it says government to take delivery of measles vaccines soon. When is soon? As a friend of mine used to say, we were told that Jesus is coming soon. Tell us, and it's been many years, you're telling us that to take delivery soon. How soon is soon? See, we haven't put a lot of, we haven't put priority on this situation where there are no vaccines for our children. I put myself in the shoes of those women who have infants, and I'm wondering how the amount of unease they sit with, not knowing when their children are going to get vaccinated. And there has been a measles outbreak up in the north. So when is soon? You can't just, it's not reassuring enough to say government will take delivery of measles vaccines soon. And indeed, if it's measles, what about all the other killer diseases and all the vaccines that are not available? So it's shameful and a real failure that government has actually sat and allowed the country to run out of these vaccines, and now you're saying we will take delivery soon. When is soon? And mothers are going around looking from one clinic to another, one health center to another, just trying to get their children vaccinated. And it's almost as if nobody cares.
No, they don't care. The government does not care. Because if the government of Ghana cared, the amount of money they spent on Independence Day commemoration, they would have spent to get vaccines for our children. And it's clear a government failure. There's a clear government failure because I know that these vaccines, they must have known that there was a shortage. And so to what extent did they prioritize delivery of these vaccines or even allocating the resources for these vaccines, number one? They have not even rolled out a plan. So do we even have a little bit? I mean, are there some hotspots? So if you really are in urgent need, are there some hotspots, maybe in the endemic areas, like you say, the measles has broken up, maybe in the north and all that? So what is the actual situation? And are there some priority areas where you can still go to and get the vaccines? No information, but rather the Minister of Health is rather attributing it to a steady global decline in measles vaccination.
It's never our fault.
And so what?
It's never our responsibility.
Minister of Health, there's a decline in global measles vaccination, and so what? What has it got to do with your duty as a Minister of Health to ensure that we have vaccines for children to be vaccinated?
I put on my social media on Facebook that this is an issue that the health minister should resign over.
Yes.
Because these are our children. This is our next generation. And it's almost as if it's secondary to many other things. And yet, I mean, this is basic. So for him to, I think they are being rather lax about it. We started hearing of a shortage of these vaccines over 2 weeks ago. Yes. And if today you are still telling us we will receive the vaccines soon,
in the next few weeks, you can't even give us, a date or time. And you're saying that we haven't recorded. I've never, ever, ever heard of this.
No.
Never.
No. We've retrogressed in many, many ways.
A lot.
I was recounting to my sister, for example, how the schools they would come to the schools to vaccinate us.
Yes.
Periodically. And there was enough for everybody. Indeed, the population of Ghana was not this much. But you are in government for a reason, to be responsible. And this is grave. We don't seem to see, I mean, those of us who don't have infants may not be able to relate to it that, oh, it's a serious situation. But it is grave. And the repercussions of it are going to show in a few years.
Yes, yes. It's very, very sad that this is what is happening. And like you said, the health minister ought to resign. I mean, if you can't ensure vaccines for infants and you're not even aware, I mean, like from last year, you should have known stocks were falling. Just resign. He also messed up with COVID. He didn't resign. This one, we have to make sure that he resigns. He is not fit to be a minister of health.
So there's also on the Times a sad story of 2 children drowning after the torrential rains at Botsiano. We hear these stories year after year, and it doesn't seem, I mean, the rains have just started, and God help us with the flooding and all that. Daily Graphic, well, it's also about the government moving to deliver, and it's always in the future. Government moves to deliver vaccines. We'll see when that happens. And the soldiers' reaction to dead colleague abusive, Ashaman residents say. Let's help to resolve the impacts of the global crisis. And International Women's Day, of course. And that's why we are here.
Yes.
Female experts advise women and girls to embrace digital technology. As I say to my young girls on my mentoring program, your phone is not simply to do WhatsApp and watch videos.
Oh, is it?
But there are so many other uses to it, and it's a convenience, actually, if you embrace the technology and use it for all the things that it will be useful. In my mentoring program, for example, there were many young women entrepreneurs. They're in school, but they're in little businesses here and there. Very impressive. And this is where you must embrace digital technology. I mean, if it wasn't for e-levy, but that's another story altogether. You can, you know, send money, receive money, and conduct so much business just by using your phone. Have an app that keeps accounts and all things like that. So yes, it makes our lives easier as women if we embrace digital technology.
It's a huge challenge.
Well, we have to learn. It's a huge challenge. Oh, I think, first of all, you must be accepting of it. You must say, you know what, I need this tool. And when you accept it, it's actually quite easy.
Yes. And Bridget, you know, we're discussing just before we stepped in about women taking over.
Yes.
I mean, like, they were going on about the fact that, yes, it's a Wesley Girls morning.
Yes.
You know, Doc is Wesley Girls. We are both Wesley Girls. And I think we should discuss that, women taking over Ghana.
Indeed. And we need women in leadership. I mean,
it's very important.
If I start to go on about why we need women in leadership, it's not going to end. But let's take it away from giving power to women and look at it from the angle of letting women lead. Because when you take it from the angle of giving power to women, the men panic. And there's a UN thing I saw, UN women thing I saw, which said, giving power to women does not take it from men. It's not a pie. You know, it's not like a cake or a pie where because you've taken this out and given to women, then it's deficient or it's not enough for men. It actually makes economic and developmental sense to have women in leadership right now. I mean, I doubt, for example, that we would be here with the issue of vaccines if it was a woman health minister.
Yes.
I am sure that a woman, these are fundamentals, and we like to take care of the fundamentals. I like to quote my favorite singer or artist, Kofi Kinata. He has a song, well, this song, You Change Your Level. No? He has a song that says, Nde charcoal seller noba also ash white. And it's a compliment to his mother and to women that with her charcoal selling, she empowered him. She brought him up. She has made him what he is today. And so for every charcoal seller, every roasted plantain seller, they are leaders in their own right. And we must take up those spaces, the leadership spaces. There's a lot of deficiency in our leadership right now. There's a lot of deficiency in our governance. And we know it, we feel it, and we have solutions to it. Women in their homes right now, I dare say that 70% of homes are run by women right now, if not more.
Yes.
And it's just that we have not put value or worth on that leadership role we play. And if we do, we will be amazed how much we can do to change our communities, our families, our communities, and our country. So it's time for us women on this International Women's Day. I'm calling on all of us women to take up those leadership spaces wherever you find yourself, in school, in your workplace, in your family, in your community. Say something, speak up, step up, and let's do it.
Yes, let women lead. Let women lead to change the fortunes of Ghana. It's very important. We offer hope. Women are better, much better managers. Let women lead.
And like we say, it's to the benefit of men and women for women to be in leadership.
Yes.
We are not coming to grab. You see, we are not competitive to grab away from anybody. We are there to complement in leadership.
And draw everybody round to the table. So
I think Joyce is Joyce with us now, country director, international.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes,
Joyce.
please.
Good morning.
Hello.
And welcome to Business Daily.
Good morning.
Hi.
Thank you very much. And I'm wishing all of you in the studio, especially the women and all women out there, and happy International Women's Day.
Same to you. Happy International Women's Day to you too. Like I said, welcome to the AM show on JoyNews. You've been listening to us with the headlines we have. Which one captured you? The vaccines, the soldiers in Ashaman,
State of Nation.
International Women's Day, State of the Nation. Let's hear what you have to say on any of them.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to join you. Indeed, if I look at the issues you were discussing, they are all of high importance to us as women. First of all, let's look at the issue around vaccine. This vaccine issue that we are talking about this morning came up almost 2 weeks to 3 weeks ago. And you know, if you do not take these childhood, they used to be called killer diseases. If you do not take them, you stand the risk of losing your life in terms of the babies, or you become disabled. You will suffer disability very soon as the child grows up. For example, issues around the measles outbreak in the north. I can't imagine how the mothers will be feeling. And so, like you said, it's unacceptable to think that the minister is telling us that these vaccines will come very soon. Did they even plan for it? And you know, just opposing the issue about the vaccine with COVID-19 vaccine, I think I heard it yesterday. It's rather unfortunate. So I would say that if we want to continue with a very strong children population in this country, children that are up and will take up the mantle in the future, we will have to consider issues around vaccine, a very important agenda, such that year in and year out they are available. We are giving birth to our children. We want the children to go through all these vaccines and have a very strong children's population as time goes on. So I find it, and we hold the minister accountable for this. When you are in leadership, you take responsibility. You don't apportion reasons that are not tenable. So we are appealing to government to take this vaccine issue very, 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 very serious and find ways and means to get them available for, and it's always the women, you know, there is the women. Yesterday when I was watching television, I saw a man who was with the wife, but the rest, women all over the place, in the hospitals, in the CHIPS compounds, wherever, just waiting to have a shot for their children. So, like you said, we are holding the minister to come again and tell us something good, something that will indicate that the vaccines have been distributed so that we will free ourselves from this stress, daily stress, that, oh, my child is not vaccinated. What's the next thing I'm going to suffer? And becomes a challenge for women. So women on these vaccine issues, including men, are asking the minister to act and act now. If you talk about the conflict in Ashiama, we were around in 1981-82 when former President J.J. Rawlings came up with the coup, and there was pandemonium everywhere. I mean, soldiers took up arms, caning women. I remember those days I was in Koforidua, where a certain woman was put in the middle of the road for no reason and was lashed, I mean, literally caned. I'm sure that woman did not come back to herself even after that magnitude of abuse of that woman. We had to sleep at a certain time. There was this price control. Women's wares were being taken over. I remember those times my mother was selling all manner of things just to keep up the family because dad wasn't there. Soldiers had to come in, ransack her goods, take over her mineral bottles to be sent somewhere, her iron sheets, her. I mean, it was nightmare for us every single day, and that was where the Nigeria exodus came in. So you can imagine, well, our parents literally sold their things to take care of us in school. I remember, but we were eating cheese. Cheese. Ghanaians, we are not used to eating cheese. But we had some form of cheese coming from the Catholic Relief Service somewhere, and we had to have the cheese as something that would keep us running on those days. I remember clearly. All because Ghana was in crisis, the military had taken over, there was no law and order, and that kind of life, everyday fear. So we do not want to go back to those days. And if you look at what happened in Ashama yesterday, the little I saw on television, it was really a nightmare. And so we plead that the police should rather take up their responsibility. Somebody was asking me where the police was, that the Ghana Armed Forces should come into the community in such a manner. I believe this is the job of the police service, and that justice will be served through the necessary investigation and bringing the perpetrators to book. So it's really unacceptable, and I add my voice to my colleagues in the studio that it is rather shameful if we are supposed to be the beacon of democracy in Africa and we abuse our citizens in such a barbaric manner. I don't think we deserve that accolade. So we are also asking serious apologies from the military high command, and if possible, be brought to book by our parliamentarians to investigate what really happened, and then the next steps follow. So if you ask my view on that, that is it. For education, it's sad. Children are all over the place, sleeping on the floor, learning. Teachers do not have the necessary resources to be able to ply their trade in terms of teaching and learning, books, and all the necessary resources. And we are talking about somewhere up north. Of course, it's not widespread in the country. But then if you do not take care of whoever is in the north in terms of what he needs to access education, then it's like we are not achieving the SDGs that we assigned to, in terms of giving an account, a better account of what we are doing within our education system. Classroom blocks are broken somewhere in Sechirafran Plains, where we listen to the news where, I mean, it's appalling. It's appalling. And I am from a rural community. I had to break through all the barriers to get to where I am. So even in those days, we were able to break through. How about in this modern technological age, where we are touting our horns in almost everything we are doing, that we are the leaders. Yet you come and people are still lying on the floor. In one of the news, I heard Adenta Community School here in Accra where we're learning under trees. Unbelievable. There's a lot we need to do. We need to, just descend and do what is expected of us, rather than touting our horns, saying things that does not exist. Our education minister should go to our aid and help in supporting teachers for teaching and learning to take place, so that tomorrow when we are not around, we have our next generation of our young people coming up, taking our roles. The least talked about the youth, the better. Because there are simply no jobs. Jobs that were promised them through campaigns finally fizzled out, and they are all over the place without jobs. So it is really, 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 really a big issue that we need to consider. We are talking about digital age, where technology is facilitating most of the things we are doing. I'll end here so that you also...
Thank you. I hear your frustration, Joyce. Yes. And I can also tell Nanaoye that she is... I use one word, and I write on social media a lot, and what I say is we have retrogressed.
Yes.
And everything that Joyce has recounted talks about retrogression.
Yes.
We've gone back so many years.
Yes.
I mean, and it is almost as if, and this is probably where we should say, women, please, we must step up, we must speak up. We have a few of us in Parliament, not nearly enough. And we are not here, I've said it before, I've said it to one or two of them, we are not hearing their voices. This is when they must come together and say, we are women first, before we belong to any political party. And speak together as women. The women in Parliament must actually come up and say, you know what, Health Minister, we are holding you accountable for our children's health. Yeah. And if you have to resign, you have to resign. Because you don't seem to have a grasp of the most basic things that are required for our children's lives. So at this point, the women must come together in Parliament. They are the leaders, they are the known leaders, and then all women's groups must come together. And actually, we may not have infants, but we must speak, those of us who have the voice, for all the women in Ghana on this issue. No, I hear Joyce and International Child Development Program. The welfare of the child is really, really important to her. And she's speaking herself.
Yes, and Joyce has pointed out about children studying under trees at the Adenta Community School. And I live in Adenta, and I will investigate and find out exactly what is happening and then report on that. It is very regrettable. And just to say that, I mean, here again, this Brigadier General Agrikwashi's statement, where he talks about, regrettably, some innocent persons might have been caught up in the operation and must have suffered some distress due to the location. He didn't even have the courtesy to apologize for what happened. Very regrettable. Brigadier General.
Well, it's probably the state of the nation that we're going to listen to. It's a part of the state of the nation that we find ourselves in. Yes. We would like to say, conclude this segment. Thank you very much, Joyce Lanyo, who joined us on Zoom, and Nanaoye. We will take a break here and make way for the sports segment and come back to continue.
Oh, that's, you know, she was our fastest 100 meters dash. She was the fastest, one of the fastest.
I'm still a sportswoman. I'm very, very, I still played.
Were you a sports prefect?
Yes, I was a sports prefect.
In West Girls,
yes, I was.
Bridget is an amazing sportswoman. Yes.
Yes.
So we called her Flash.
Fire.
Fire.
Named after my brother, though. But yes.
Yes. So you can still run.
I walk. I play tennis.
You play tennis, yes. You play very good lawn tennis.
I play tennis,
yes. And you work with the mentoring women.
Pardon?
Mentoring women.
Yes, mentoring women. We did a global mentoring walk, yes.
Okay.
So we will make way now for the sports segment.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the AM Show Sports segments. I'm Mavis Avonya Falidi, a job lady, Vesda Papibi. General Manager of Dreams FC, Aminu Shadow, has attributed poor attendance of the Super Clash Kum President's Cup to the poor form of Hearts and Kotoko. Speaking on Sports Zone, Shadow noted that the patronage would have been better if the two teams were in position to win the league.
Shot that all. I mean, the facts are very, very clear, even through observation. there's across board aggregately, there's a significant drop in attendance to match venues of our various Premier Leagues. And I think Sicho mentioned something. There's a reason why fans will feel very comfortable to attend matches at the Jendu Park rather than go to the Esipon Stadium, even though it has a better feel or is user-friendly, even more than the Jendu Park. Now, back to this specific game, the Hearts and Kotoko. Yeah. I have come to the conclusion that for big clubs like Hearts and Kotoko, who naturally command some level of appeal and attraction, for you to stimulate that attraction to bring in the numbers, they need to have, is linked with results. And 2 seasons ago proves this. In the season where Hearts of Folk and Kotoko were vying for the Premier League, they were neck to neck. I think Hearts was first, Kotoko was second, I think 1 point difference. That's right. And that match was almost like a decider. Yeah. The Accra Sports Stadium was filled. It's the same venue, it's the same set of fans you are sending this brand to. Why is it that they are not going there? And I reckon, even if that match was played at 10 a.m., the stadium will still be filled up. Yeah. Because both teams were, prior to even playing that game, the last 5 games going into that game, they were winning. They were on a roll. Yeah. And the vibe and the feel about these clubs was there. So I wasn't surprised at all. I was actually expecting the poor attendance because in the lead up to this game, both teams have had very, very inconsistent forms. True. They are not winning at all. House of Folk in particular, the main story, the top story was about sacking
fans their own coach.
Their own coach. All these things doesn't bode well for a game of this magnitude. Okay, for other clubs, there are other peculiar reasons why we are not filling our stadiums. But then for these two big clubs, it's very, very clear. Once you get the performance, if you are selling, and Abuedu was selling really, really good entertainment football. Yeah. I remember when they played Olympics and at the height of COVID when there was 25%.
They broke the gate.
They broke the gate because the attraction was there. People wanted to see the noisiest I've heard as a commentator in any game that I've run.
You get it. Yeah. So I'll tell you an interesting story. 2 of my former bosses, and I can name names here. Samuel Atamensa, CEO of City, and Gabi Ochedako, where Gabi is an Olympics fan, you remember? They went to present him at the jersey. Yes. They were trying to access the game. Yeah. Yes. And I spent several minutes on the phone trying to tell them how to access the game. And they had tickets.
Yes.
They just simply couldn't get in.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of the share numbers that...
Yes. It was the loudest
I've heard. 2020, so at the height of COVID.
So for these 2 teams, it's clear cut. Yes, other things like marketing and all those things can come in. But when they are doing well, and when they have consistent performance and the results are coming, the fans will troop in. For other clubs, it's a bit more complicated. For instance, my club, Dreams FC, is a Zongo club born in the Mamobinima Newtown enclave. True. But we play our football 80 kilometers away from our fans. Yeah. We don't, our engagement with the township of Dewu is not as good as when they were doing a lot of community engagement. Yeah. So now, if I look at the data, clearly, fans trooping to watch Dreams FC has dropped significantly because we are not doing enough.
Enjoy sports series of Bush Resource Centers. Today, we focus on the Koforidua Youth Resource Center, a facility built to harness sporting talents in the area, has been taken over by weeds and trees. Here is report by Fento Tahiro.
Welcome to the Koforidua Youth Resource Center. Or what you will soon find out is actually a bush resource center. The project is located on the site of the Koforidua Sports Stadium and is part of the 10 youth resource centers, the construction of which began across the country in March 2018. And just like the 9 others, the project was to cost $1.8 million and was to house a standard FIFA football pitch, an 8-lane running track, basketball and volleyball courts, tennis court, an ICT center, and would seat 5,000 people. It was set to be completed and handed over in just 9 months. And though the initial deadline of December 2018 was never met, construction had begun on phase 1 of the project and progressing steadily. President Akufo-Addo toured the facility at the end of 2019 and was reportedly pleased with the progress of work. But after a brief hiatus following the coronavirus pandemic, contractors returned to site and completed the 4 different stands, furnished with seats, fixed the grass on the football pitch, and cleared the grounds for the running track. The work done so far was estimated at 90%, and just a fraction remained for phase 1 to be completed. But the contractor packed his equipment and left the site after failure to pay the remainder of his contract sum. Since the departure of the contractor at the end of 2020, all the work done has degenerated. The paint on the walls is peeling off. The seats on the stands have become dusty and the goalposts rusting away. The once lush green pitch has now been overcome by weeds, requiring a complete redo. A few months ago, this was a quality football pitch, looking green and lush, and it was actually fit enough to host football matches because the contractor working on the Koforidua Youth Resource Centre had done quite a lot of work and it was progressing steadily. But just a few months down the line, due to non-payment of contractual obligations, work has been abandoned, and now this Youth Resource Centre can rightly be termed a bush resource centre. It is right for me to say if you sent your daughter or your son to come and play football here, there's likelihood that they will get lost in this bush. Try negotiating, and it's quite hectic. It is a befitting edifice just to demonstrate our overall lack of focus and the wanton waste of scarce national resources. Obviously, this is the goalpost, and you might as well cut some of these grasses and erect them as goalposts because they are half the height of a goalpost that is looking distressful and quite rusty. Everywhere you look around this project, you can't help but weep for Mother Ghana. This is not what was promised. A project that was supposed to have been completed in just 9 months, 5 years down the lane, is worse than it was when it started. The project premises has also become a breeding ground for goats, while construction of the adjoining facilities like the tennis and basketball courts have been abandoned. Among the numerous facilities that were supposed to be here at the Youth Resource Centre of Koforidua was a basketball court and a volleyball court. This is a basketball court and a volleyball court. A 2-in-1 facility, and what you see behind me was supposed to be the volleyball net. At the moment, it's a dry line for sponges and for towels. Work on phase 2 of the project began at the start of 2022 and was due to be handed over by January of the following year. The scope of work on the second phase of the project include the fence, ticketing booths, as well as underground well, all of which are targeted at the self-sustainability of the facility. But even that is running behind schedule. Work at the Koforidua Youth Resource Centre commenced 5 years ago to pomp and pageantry, with many people in the Eastern Regional Capital elated at the prospect of a world-class facility befitting of the sporting talent that has emanated from the region. But 5 years on, the wait continues as promises run dry and dreams are dashed. The Koforidua Youth Resource Centre at the moment can truly be described as a world-class bush resource centre.
That's it for sports. I'm Mavis Avonyofa, Lady Ajobo Lady, Vesda Opapebi. We'll come back with more of the AM show.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome our viewers back after all the sports and everything else.
Yes, the sports, Bridget. Manchester United. I know you are a fan, and then one of my best friends is for Liverpool, so I know the coach is Klopp. That's all I know. And you were walloped.
Indeed.
Terrible.
I have nothing to say. I don't even have an excuse.
Yes.
I was very depressed.
7?
Yes. Terrible. When it got to 5, I thought that was the end.
Yes.
And I saw us sloppy defense. The 6th went in, and the 7th.
So sorry.
7-0.
No, I mean
that's the hard part.
history.
At least if we had, taken one back or two. 7-0.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm still.
You're still Manchester.
Forever,
Please
Man
change.
U.
Anyway. So
it's International Women's Day.
Yes.
We have all these wonderful women about to join us. Rosie Finn, another Wesley Girls girl, Vera Fiado. I believe I've met Vera before. And Yonam Manye and Faustina Copson. We will say more about them when they join us.
Yes, really exciting.
How do you feel about International Women's Day in Norway today?
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm happy that over the years, we in Ghana are recognizing commemoration of International Women's Day. So commemoration has increased. And a lot of awareness has been created. And I'm hoping that we, across the country, we use the opportunity of commemorating International Women's Day to reflect on how far we have come in terms of progress, women's rights, and also to reflect on where we should go. And so I'm happy that the theme today is on going digital and how we can use the digital age to optimize or to enhance protection of women's rights. So as I sit here, I'm thinking about ways and means we can be innovative, how we can use the digital age to but at the same time, looking at the downsides too of how child pornography, because of the digital age, child pornography has increased, and how young girls are being exploited, and how still as a country we don't have safeguards for children accessing pornographic material, and how it has become an addiction, and basically what we're doing about that. So I'm looking at both ends of the stick.
Another theme actually for the International Women's Day, which we used for our event on the weekend, is time for audacious action. Time for audacious action. So I feel, since Beijing and with all this awareness of women and our importance and the role we play and the spaces we can take, we are talking it up a lot, but we are not acting, we're not taking that step, we're not speaking up. And today's theme, or this year's theme, is asking us to get up and get out there and take action. I was speaking on another International Women's Day event yesterday, put together by another old girl, Gifty Boachi Freeman.
Oh, okay.
And she brought on Zoom, she was from in the UK, and she brought on Zoom 3 of us, me from Ghana, another woman from Canada, and another woman from Belgium. And we were all talking about how it's time now to take up spaces. in certain jurisdictions, yes, women have made strides. We have made some, but have we made enough? And it is time now for us to take, and what I said was, when it pinches you,
yes,
you will speak or you will shout. But sometimes it pinches us secondarily through someone else. Yes. And we must be the voices to speak out for those people.
Yes. An audacious act like the hair revolution. I mean, like, you know, the women in, is it Iran? Also, like, you know, we've had this this lady who was murdered.
Yes.
I mean, or she died in custody. Yes. And the whole revolution that came, and it became even global. Yes. Where we had women in other countries across the world speaking up. Yes. Speaking up against what was happening in that country. So that was really an audacious act where, I mean, you know how hair is precious. Yes. And how women just cut their hair, and also the hijab debate, you know, whether or not.
Let me take you on a very interesting but controversial one. I don't know if you knew about Kenya. Well, when after the elections there was conflict. Yes. And some of the women decided they were going to go on deny their husband's sex.
Oh, wow.
And they actually denied their husbands or their partners sex for a while and said to them, go and resolve the conflict or else. And I heard it fleetingly then, but I went online and I actually read about it, and it was true, and it wasn't the first time that had been done. And therefore, we have power. We have the power. And I use the word power advisedly because universally and to most men, you must exercise power. But for us women, we exercise leadership rather than just
we exercise power. It's good to exercise power.
Yes. But we have soft power.
Yes.
And that soft power is strong enough to make a statement in many ways. And like I said earlier, we must be able to put value on that power to say, this woman is powerful in this manner. When I take my mother, for example, she ran our home.
Yes.
My mother was not half as educated as I was, but she was powerful in her small, quiet way, you know. And we all as women, wherever you find yourself, must exercise that positive power. Positively, in order to impact somebody's life, also positively.
Yes, it's very, very important. However uncomfortable it may seem, we need to step up. We need to step it up and exercise that power for the public good.
Yes.
For the public good. And we need to get into those spaces and then act so that we can get a better Ghana. It's as simple as that. Like you said, I can, like my mother, same example, and my grandmothers, both my maternal and my paternal grandmother. I think I get the politics bit from my paternal grandmother, who was a CPP women's organizer. And it just sort of, you reflect on these lives of these matriarchs who have gone before us.
Oh, yes.
And you don't have a choice but to step up. We need to step up and act and save Ghana.
I think that, you know, women's power is expressed best when you know that something dear to you is at stake. You know, the mother bear kind of, you know, where you know that if it is affecting something dear to me, and for us, the dearest thing to us are our children.
And our family.
Yes.
Yes.
And our children make up Ghanaians.
Yes.
And therefore, look at all Ghanaians and see them as your children. And take up that space to speak for them.
Yes.
Because honestly, where we are right now is difficult, it's dangerous. And Ghanaian youth, children, infants, everybody is suffering. And this is where women, I have a lot of admiration for, and I always use her as an example, for the MP from Akwetia, I think, ex-MP, was it Akwetia or Boase? Adjoase, Amase,
yes,
the hairdresser,
yes,
who, regardless of where she was coming from as a hairdresser, she made it into parliament.
Yes.
And because her people saw her as a leader.
Yes.
Unfortunately, she didn't make it this time, and we all saw what became of that seat. But it's amazing that we seem to limit ourselves or box ourselves in to say, because I may not be educated, or because I'm only this or only that, I may not be able to be the leader that I am. But you are being called to take up that space, and let us all take it. It's International Women's Day. Some people say, why don't we celebrate International Men's Day? There is actually International Men's Day. Sadly, it's also International, I would not say, go and Google it.
I'll Google it.
And,
yes.
But we have celebrated men a lot and enough, and elevated them into places of power and leadership. And I think in this country they failed us. I will say it's
they have failed us.
In this country, yes, they have failed us.
And Bridget, today is a call to action for every single woman in Ghana. Let's look at what happened in Nigeria. And we saw the videos of the women in Nigeria stepping up prior to the elections. Enough is enough. Positioning themselves in front of the army, the police, and what have you, standing up for their country. And today, International Women's Day, we are asking all Ghanaian women, every woman living in Ghana, step it up, we are calling to action. Our country is in shambles. We are the lowest point. Let's step it up for our future generations. Women of Ghana, let's step it up for our country as nurturing, nourishing women. We step it up today. Call to action.
Okay, so our guests are with us now, Nana, and would like to introduce them. First on the list, another Wesley Girls. Wesley Girls, we need to take this country over.
Wesley Girls, we will take this country over.
So the first is Rosie Finn. Hello, Rosie, Country Director of MasterCard Foundation. Hi, Rosie, good to see you. They say we look alike.
You know we are twins, almost. Even my own mother says it, so it must be true.
Yes, they used to say your sister Marianne looked like me as well. So, was and Vera, is that Vera with us? Vera Fiado,
yeah,
Associate Professor of Finance.
Yeah.
Woo! Wow. University of Ghana Business School. Welcome.
Thank you.
We will start with the two of you, and I believe the others will join us later. Rosie and Vera, you've been listening in on our conversation since we started. We've been talking about the state of the nation, both the real state of the nation and what the president is going to tell us today. Not to say it's not the real state, but we will hear. Also, we've talked about the chaos in Ashama, to put it mildly. And we've also talked about lack of vaccines for our infants. And of course, it is International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What does it mean to you? We're talking about digital, using digital technology for the advancement and development of women for gender equality. What does it mean to you?
Well, I'm happy to start, and good morning to you in the studio. Good morning to all of the listeners tuning in this morning. Another International Women's Day. It's exciting, right? If you remember, we've been celebrating International Women's Day for 110 years. Here we are today as well. The theme is a very relevant one, digital. As the world moves more online, it's important to ensure that the gap when it comes to digital usage closes between men and women. And I think that's what we are trying to celebrate today, and actually understand the underlying issues that's preventing that from being the case, because there is a distinct difference between the number of women who are online and the number of men, and for a lot of different reasons. But for me, as we celebrate today, even though it's exciting, even though we want to continue to push this agenda.
No, you should be inside.
I believe somebody is joining. If you could mute. Go on, Rosie.
She just muted. Sure. So even though this is something that's exciting, I mean, I think one of the things that continues to bother me about all of the celebrations is the fact that I don't believe we're closing the gap quickly enough, right? With gender parity as a whole, with gender parity in digital specifically, which is what the specific theme for this year is. So I'm looking forward to today's conversation, where we hopefully begin to think about some specific actions and activities that on an individual level, on a community level, on the national level, we can start to put in place and track over time to really start to make significant progress in this space. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Vera, what about you? What would you like to say?
When it comes to the digital, as we have it as the theme for today, I think it's timely in the sense that over the years, women in general, even as we celebrate International Women's Day, part of it has been to try to, should I say, bridge the gap between the men and the women. And as Rosie rightly said, it's not being closed fast enough. But I think the digital divide, which is slowly closing, because when it comes to the digital side, for example, phones especially have begun to play a key role. If you take it, even when you move into financial inclusion, for example, when you look at the data on how, and part of women empowerment is to start with the financial aspect, empowering them financially, having bank accounts, being able to access financial services, and therefore improve their lot. The digital aspect of it is now something that we can definitely employ. So with financial inclusion, the expansion of the fintech space, etc., I think this theme is quite timely, and then hopefully we should be able to leverage it. Like Rosie said, all of us up in arms together, we work for the good of all.
Thank you very much, Vera. I like the way you brought in the finance part of it, being digitally empowered. Nanoye, what do you think? What do you think? Would you like to hear from Rosie and?
Yes. Welcome very much. Yeah. Thank you. Happy International Women's Day, Rosie and Vera. I'd like us to also to celebrate you this morning. I mean, Associate Professor of Finance. That's a lot of mathematics. And other stuff. So congratulations to you, and also to Rosie. So I'd like to find out what motivated you to select finance, Vera, and also Rosie. How is I know MasterCard Foundation is doing a lot for girls, for women, and that's very, very remarkable. So I'd like to also find out what motivated you to also join MasterCard, and how is it going as far as your profession or your career is concerned. Thank you.
So what motivated me to take up finance?
Yes.
It's actually a very interesting and long story. I got to the university. At that time, I was actually a language student.
Oh.
So asking career-wise, but I love my mathematics. So despite being a language, I'd gone to the school first to want to do science. Then apparently, I think I had an interview. I didn't know BEC. They never gave how do I call it, extra paper. So I did my work, I spaced it out, and I was just halfway through the paper. I had plenty of time, and then I ran out of paper to write on.
Wow.
And then I was waiting for close to an hour paper was never brought, and I was never told that so when the paper came, everything was excellent except the science paper. I clocked 2. So I got to hold each other. They said, "You're good." But with a 2 in science, the general science, they were not too sure they want to risk me in the science class. So they offered me instead to do languages. So yes, I loved my French. I still aced it. I went for competitions. But I got to the university and I asked, what can I do with it? I guess today, like I always say, if somebody had advised me, I may have actually still been a professor of French or something. But all they said was I could be a translator. It didn't really add up. So I switched into admin. And then I like to play around with figures, but not just follow the rules. So accounting, though more mathematics, also with a math and opportunity, it didn't really, should I say, pull the heartstrings that I had. So I looked for a field that combined a bit of the accounting, but more of a chance to play with my figures. And so that's how I ended up in finance, interestingly. So that's my journey into this.
You sound like an all-rounder because French, science, finance, well done. These are the women who need to take up the spaces. And I know that University of Ghana, for example, is doing a fantastic job putting women in leadership, and they must be celebrated.
Yes.
Yes. We've also been joined by Enyonam Manye. Please, Manye. Manye. Okay. Founder, Count on Crops Hub. Count on Crops Hub. And she's the host of the Ghanaian Farmer, a woman farmer. Remarkable. Indeed. Why not? Because I think women make up almost 2/3 of our food crop farms, agric. And yet, then again, we are not being celebrated enough, or we are not making that, showing forth that worth of women in our country. So welcome, Enyonam, and happy International Women's Day. Oh dear, we lost her, so we'll go back to her. Rosie and Vera, whilst you're there, also another theme, apart from the digital, is the time for audacious action. I heard you, Rosie, say that you don't think we've made enough strides towards women being recognized or being up there in leadership. So the theme is time for audacious action. And to you, what would that audacious action be?
Wow, no, that's a very good question. And I think there are really a number of things that can be done, a number of initiatives that can be put in place, right? If we think about it from the corporate perspective, for example, I think there needs to be more intentionality around ensuring that you are bringing in more women into the corporate space. So, for example, I was speaking at a company yesterday, and one of the things they said was that when the HR department gets a short list of candidates for a role they're recruiting, and there is no female in that shortlist, they go back to the market and make sure that there's at least 1 or 2 qualified and competent females. What does that mean? It takes a little bit more time to recruit. It takes a little bit more effort, but then you're being intentional, because the answer is not that the women are not there or they're not available. It's just that a lot of the time when you open up roles, it will be the more aggressive and ambitious men that will apply. So you need to be a little bit more focused in finding capable women who can do the job. And I put a lot of emphasis on capable, because as we still seek for a world that is more equitable from a gender perspective, it needs to be done in a way where it is the competence of the women that is getting them there. So we're not taking any shortcuts. We're not asking for any handouts. We're not asking for, favors. We're just saying that where there are qualified and competent women, let's make sure that we're finding them and putting them in those positions. Also, when it comes to promotions, right, getting women into senior leadership, it's very important that you make provisions for women to be able to take up those opportunities. And a lot of the time, one of the things you'll see is that if there's an open position, you will find men who maybe tick 3 or 4 of the boxes, who are confident and will apply. For women, statistics have shown that they want to be able to take 9 or 10 out of those competencies before they apply. This is where you put in structures in a corporation that encourages them, that pushes them, that mentors women and supports them in a way where they get that confidence to apply for roles that they might not have all of the boxes ticked, but they do have a lot of the competency that will enable them to thrive and be successful in those roles. So those are two examples from, say, a corporate setting. If we look at it from a national perspective, this is where you can start to put laws and rules in place. I refer to this example a lot because I think it's just such an amazing thing that's happened in Rwanda, where they put very specific targets on number of parliamentarians who should be women. And once they did that, they were able to surpass the targets in a way where more than 50% of parliamentarians are women in Rwanda. But what did it take? A very specific, intentional effort and action to make this happen. And lastly, for me, when it comes to a lot of the conversations we are having around gender, I do believe that a lot of the training, a lot of the mindset change, the focus on women, it actually starts from the home, right? So as we are growing and grooming our young men and women, it is really helping them understand the role that women play, the strength of women, and the fact that we are 50% of the population, and holding women back is really holding the economy back. So getting everybody to understand that gender issues are issues of economics, are issues of social impact, are very important to ensure that everybody realizes you're not doing anybody a favor by saying that women need to have more parity, and that it is actually good for the economy, it's actually good for society. As they say, when you have women who go to pension, who have more disposable income, it doesn't just serve them, it serves them, their extended family, etc. And that happens more so than if you have men who have lots of disposable income when they go to pension. They use that more from a personal perspective, right? So, these are some of the things that, there are lots of things that I think we can start to be a little bit more intentional about. And I am hoping that we get to see a lot of these come into play.
Thank you, Rosie. I hope that in saying so, the women in Parliament today will push a little further for the affirmative action bill to be passed. It's long overdue, and I wonder why it's that way. We have Enyonam Manya with us now, founder of Count on Crops Hub and the host of the Ghanaian Farmer. Hello, Enyonam. Happy International Women's Day.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Thank you very much. Happy International Women's Day to you too.
Your voice...
Good morning, I'm well. Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
We can.
Right and clear. Now, do you have any questions?
Yes, and how are you doing? Hi. I can see you on the road. Yeah.
I'm very well, thank you.
Are you on the farm?
I'm going to the farm. That's what I do every day. So I'm heading to the Volta region now.
Okay. Which part of the Volta region is your farm?
I'm going to Ketu North.
All right. So what is Count on Crops Hub all about?
Thank you very much. Good morning to all your viewers and happy International Women's Day to everyone watching us and those in the studio, including the amazing, phenomenal women who are on the line discussing and sharing more on what women are doing. Count on Crops is a Greek advocacy agency, and we have
maybe do this video.
Sorry, I think the connection is a bit unstable, probably because of where you find yourself. We'll come back to you. We hope that we can get you loud and clear when we come back to you. So, Rosie, with what you were saying, reminded me of another quote which said, a woman must work twice as hard to be thought of as half as good as men. Luckily, that is not difficult. So, even though we are required to tick more boxes than them, and I think that sometimes we put that limit on ourselves. You know as the saying goes, fools rush where angels fear to tread. Men are bolder to quickly say, yes, I'm competent and I'm capable and I can do it. But for example, listening to Vera and all the boxes she ticks, she was good in French, she was good in science, she's good in finance. And we are not willing to say, I am capable, I am. And there's another saying that says, if you don't say I am, who's going to say thou art, right? This is the time for audacious action. In what ways should we be able to say I am? I mean, is Enyonam back with us? She's a farmer. Her voice sounds like someone who belongs in a choir, actually.
Yes, she has a
very sweet voice. And we must ask ourselves, what is preventing us from stepping up and being bold and taking audacious action?
Yes, so Manye, Enyonam, are you back? Can you hear Enyonam? I don't think so. So maybe we'll go.
The connection is a bit of a challenge. It's delayed, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
maybe if she turns the video off.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can get the voice, because it's obvious she's on the road.
Yes.
So maybe that's what is informing that.
Yes, Rosie. Like I said, Rosie and Vera, you did say that the space must be made. I don't know whether it is we cannot say the men should make the space for us. We must take up those spaces. And what is it that is preventing us from doing that?
Well, I think simply put, it's a lack of probably confidence that has been sort of somehow inputted into us from a very early age, right? And so it starts by working on the mind at a very young age for kids. And even in the workplace, this is why I'm a big believer in mentorship. This is why I'm a big believer in really being able to take people under your wings and give them the support and structures to help them grow. But I've seen it, for me personally, and the family I grew up in, where I had a mom who instilled confidence in us at a very early age. And one of her favorite things was, if you're willing to put in, if you're willing to put in the hard work, nothing is impossible. And it's been sort of like a guiding motto for me in everything that I've done. So the times when I'm not able to achieve something, I kind of feel it's not because I'm not capable, it's not because I'm not smart enough. It's probably more likely I didn't work hard or commit myself. And the times when I know I can stretch myself, 9 out of 10, I get, whatever it is that I am pursuing. And so that mindset was sort of inculcated in me at a very early age, and it's guided how I have approached life. And I think that's exactly the kinds of mindsets that a young woman needs to be inculcated with in schools, at home, and even in the workplace. So even much later in life, I think it is possible to get people to think and believe and feel like they can achieve. So for example, if I see a young lady who I believe is capable to do a particular role, but she's not applying, I will proactively ask her, why is it that this role is open? I see all of these people applying and not, and she'll say something like, there are a few boxes I don't tick. And I'll tell her what the boxes she does tick that are important and that are relevant to the role, and why she should still have that kind of confidence. So for me, really spending a lot of time mentoring young women, especially women in STEM, because that's where my background is. And just giving them that level of confidence is something I'm really passionate about, because I do think over time, we will grow up a lot of highly qualified, very confident young women who will be more willing and able and not scared of taking bigger roles and opportunities that come their way.
Great.
Yeah. I think
good.
I can add to that by saying, yes, indeed, it's time for some audacious moves. Audacious moves that move away from what has been the typical, the status quo as far as women are concerned and where we groom society-wise. So more often than not, we find the case where we always teach our daughters sort of to take the step back whenever there is a race. So unconsciously, we always ask them to doubt themselves first before they make a move. Now I think we've got to be a bit more bold and, like Rosie said, intentional. be it even the workplace, grooming. So when you see potential, for a lot of the men, actually, even in my field, when you find male colleagues join, somehow without even maybe looking out for it, you find another male senior, so like a professor or someone, who just takes this person under their wings. And then they could sometimes end up with 2, 3, 4 different mentors on different aspects. So they seem to rise faster. In the case of the women, sometimes it becomes a lone race. You run it alone, trying to sometimes juggle family, everything. And so at a certain point, you say something's got to give. And usually the preference has always been to give off the others in the quest for family. And of course, in speaking to the issue of we don't tick all the boxes, I remember some years ago, I kept on toying with the idea that I should add consulting to my portfolio. But every time I try to make the move, then everybody says, there's something more you need to add. There's something more. So I remember one student of mine who happened to be, I think, EY or KPMG, walked into my office sometimes and said, and then Dr. Viedo, why are you not in consulting? I don't see you out there, but when you're delivering in class, I think I really enjoy it, and I think you've got a lot to give. Like, oh no, when they say consultants, it's a certain title. It comes with a certain weight, so I must check all. He said, Dr. Viedo, please, there are plenty of people out there who are not a quarter of what I've seen you delivering in class. So please, tell yourself that you've got everything it takes. You move out there and we will learn the rest as we go along. I think it's time somebody also just told somebody that, like Rosie is saying, you check a few of the boxes, move on and learn the rest along the way. We find our male counterparts sometimes not even checking the box. I mean, they don't check the box, none. But they're bold enough to just throw themselves into. So indeed, it is time for that audacious move where throw yourself out there, put out yourself and tell yourself, even if I haven't got it, I'm going to learn. Yes, you won't be arrogant when you don't really know it, but if you even self-aware that, I don't have all it takes, then you immediately start looking out for what will it take to ace it. And in that case, you work at perfecting those skills, and then definitely you're going to do a much, much more fantastic job at anything you put your hands to.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you read the story about the professor, the man who went to Oxford and was lecturing and passed himself off as a professor for a few months and was only recently found out and fired. I mean, it takes some guts, and maybe we need some of those guts, but in a clean, positive way. Talking about digital and digitizing women, or women getting digitized, in what areas, Rosie, have you found that this is required, especially when working with a MasterCard Foundation and all the little projects that you support? Where do we need to grow some more digitally, particularly for women?
Great, no, thank you. So at the MasterCard Foundation, what our goal and our vision is really one, to create a world where everybody has the opportunity to learn and prosper. And by 2030, we've got this big and audacious goal that we want to create 30 million jobs, and jobs we are calling dignified and fulfilling. And we want 70% of those jobs to go towards women. In Ghana, the target is 3 million jobs that we plan on creating, 3 million dignified and fulfilling jobs. And that means about 2.1 million of those jobs will go towards women. One of the things that we've realized for sure is that there will need to be a very strong digitally focused plan for us to be able to help these women find the jobs. And so there's a number of areas and there's a number of places where we think strength needs to come in. So if we're thinking about a lot of the entrepreneurs and the SMEs that are women-led, because we know that Ghana, for example, has one of the highest percentages of female entrepreneurs in the world. One is helping them to actually find ways of digitalizing their businesses to make them more efficient. So in terms of how they sell, that's one big aspect, right? You'll find a lot of these businesses that don't have an online presence, for example. That's something that we like to support and help them with. In terms of how they manage their business on an ongoing basis. So their ability to do their accounting, the ability to market, all of those things, do procurement, the ability to do their stock management. A lot of the time for women enterprises, you'll find that these are all being done in a very manual way, and lots of profits lost actually because they can't really keep track of what's going on. And so a lot of the programs we do are also centered around providing capacity building and strengthening the digital skills of young women to enable them be more efficient in the space. The other thing we're also really looking at and being more focused on is just the realization that, look, I think there's a statistic that says that by 2050, 63% of jobs that will exist in the world will be digitally focused, right? And today we have a situation where we don't have enough women coming out of schools that have the required technical or digital skills. So we're really looking at curriculum, right? Looking at working with the relevant entities to strengthen curriculum and make digital education, ICT, etc., a core part of education, especially for women. So these are two examples of areas where we are doing programs that will help support women. A big focus for us at the foundation is also the understanding that a lot of these jobs will be created in the agriculture space. And so it's really exciting to hear that Enyonam is out on the field, about to go onto her farm, because she's exactly the kind of entrepreneur, right, that we want to work with and see opportunities for helping her scale her business. Now, a lot of these farmers that we're working with are sort of kept in very small scale farming, right? And we are now looking and thinking through how do we take these small scale farmers, work with them to help them grow their footprint, but also move away from just the primary production piece and see if there's opportunities for more agro-processing and improving or growing in the value chain of agriculture, so that you're not just creating the foods or the shea, but you're actually processing it. And then a part of the job we'll be doing is looking for market opportunities for them. And a lot of this has a huge digital underlying factor as well, that we're focusing on and helping strengthen the skills of the women in that space. So I think it's really exciting times for the work that we're doing, and it's very relevant in ensuring that we really begin to close gender parity. And it's one of the things we like to do is really engage with a lot of the people we're working with, the young people, to really understand the areas where we can support and where we can bring in our expertise. A big factor is financing. I think Vera mentioned that. That there's a huge gap in women being able to access financing for the work that they do. And that's a big area that we're focused on helping close. So we're doing a number of programs that we're planning on putting in place, focus more on women. So hoping to reach a lot more women, but programs that will make financing affordable for women in the agri space and other adjacent sectors. Today, if you try and go to the market for a loan, you'll be hard-pressed to find a loan that's below 30%. Our thinking is, can we work with some of the financial institutions to actually develop loan packages for this target group of women that will be around, the 10%, 8% region? That makes it more sustainable and makes it possible for these women to be able to pay back and not go bankrupt just because they've taken a loan, right? So these are some of the initiatives that we're working on, and we know that to be able to reach a lot of women in far removed places, in remote areas, part of the way of doing that will be to take a digital approach. So these are a couple of examples in terms of where digital comes in, why it's so important, where the gaps are, and some of the things that the foundation, the MasterCard Foundation, is doing to close the gap.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Rosie. That's amazing, and we'll be coming to you for assistance. I'm really excited about the loan packages that you're thinking of for women that will offer interest of 10% and below. That will be very welcome for women in Ghana. Vera, I would like to ask you about your experience in your industry or your career, and some of the fears that you have had in pursuing your career, and how today's theme on International Women's Day, the need for digitized technology, how this provides an opportunity to allay some of your fears in your career.
So I think, you know, when it comes to being able to aspire to the highest level wants to, part of it, aside from being ratified or being affirmed into a position, is to be able to deliver excellently, and that has to do with capacity. So in my experience, and also I think it covers a lot, I was doing some study actually trying to understand the time dynamics of men and women. And then in one particular paper I picked up, it speaks to the fact that when men marry, they get to offload some of their standard, should I say, assignments, washing for themselves, sometimes cooking for themselves. They pass it on to their spouses. So what you find is that a married man, for example, gets to be able to add on more value to themselves as the years go by, and then they're able to develop the skills. Whereas for the females, it becomes a case of being at home to take care of the children. I think in recent times, we are seeing more, and I'm hoping we're going to even see greater strides in that area, where we are using the digital device now to bring education and forms of capacity building to the women, even as they find themselves sometimes at home because they've got to also raise family. And I like to say that raising a family is a very crucial economic activity. It's actually adding to the human capital base of any nation. Without the human capital, we're going nowhere anyway. So in this case, for me, sometimes when I've got to do a rush, like today, I've got to see my children to school, etc., the opportunity to be able to engage using a digital platform allows me to also leverage my skills on another platform without necessarily having to forgo this opportunity to engage with, you know, the likes of Rosie, etc. Because then by the time I'm done with, for example, getting my children ready for school, the time is not possible to make it to the studio. So I think in that regard, I think University of Ghana also is making strides, and I know other universities are also making strides, how to ensure that we can bring education, skills, whatever, to the doorstep of the marginalized, also because for women in particular, they don't get a chance sometimes to move out of the home. So you could still raise your family at home, but when the baby is asleep, you could actually log in and build capacity and be able to leverage that skill to grow a business, to expand the portfolio of skills, etc., and become a more valuable entity. And I think even on that divide, these days we are leveraging that even within the space of telemedicine, etc. So you may not be immediately close to a medical person, but by virtue of that digital platform, you can actually access medical care that would otherwise not be available to persons. So I think this digital aspect is something that has a host of opportunities. I think we shouldn't let go. More often than not, we scratch the surface and then we move on. But I think this is something that is critical if we're going to try to bridge the gap. These are the opportunities, because we may not find the chance where the women can also, I make a joke that if we're going to the office and my son falls sick, spikes a temperature, it is an unspoken code that typically daddy would go and I'll stay behind. But should staying behind mean I get left behind? No. And I think this is where the digital landscape offers a myriad of opportunities for us to still, you know, as much as you can't have it all, but have most of it, if not all of it. Yes, I think that's something that happens.
That's good. Thank you, Vera. I like the way you've woven it into our everyday lives. I was in a workshop recently and I learned the term reproductive burden. Reproductive burden is not just bearing the child, but actually bringing them up. And that burden then draws you back on other things. And I think that we will see the worth of that or the value of that if we are actually able to put money to it. Yes. And I say to people, for example, the example you gave with doing your partner's, your husband's laundry. If you actually got him to take the laundry to a laundromat or a laundry to be washed, the value of that effort you put in washing his clothes is how much he will pay to get those things washed. But we don't normally, like you said, is a given. It's a given that you will play that role and therefore you play it, and we don't even put value to it. The time that you lose having to take the children to the hospital or dropping them off school so that you miss out on something that would be an income earner for you, that also is the value, is your worth. And we must, I'm not saying you must stop it, you can't stop it, but that gives you an idea of what you are worth.
Yes, and I'll come in here.
Yes.
I mean, it's very important. And I think one of the positive impacts, I mean, like the positive fallouts of COVID was, I mean, being able to work from home and using the digital, the tech, I mean, like the Zoom and whatever. So working virtual. So working virtual has come to stay, and it's going to help especially we women. So once the son falls ill and you have to stay at home, at least you can work virtual. Even at the hospital, you can work virtual. And for me, that's one of the good things for COVID that, you know, that happened. And I believe we need to optimize. I mean, we need to really scale that up so that more women can work virtual, and then so they will be able to share some time with their family, or, I mean, play that reproductive burden role.
And I'm sure Rosie will agree with us with working virtual. I know MasterCard well.
Yes, yes.
So
I am working virtually right now.
Yes, I'm sure you are, and so are all the other people I know who work with you, or most of them. Yeah. Now, we would like to speak about the State of the Nation's address a little bit. What your views are on it, what your views are on the State of the Nation as we speak, and what you're expecting from the President, and any other views you may have on the State of the Nation. So, Vera, would you like to start us off with that?
Yeah, okay. So, State of the Nation, it's been a very turbulent season in the past few months, if you ask me. I think a lot of things seem to have gone a bit awry for us as a nation. And I think if you look at it critically, you find that it's as if everybody is somehow resigned that if we don't take care, we're going to crash. Also because, you know, we started first with the cleanup of the financial sector, which was to then get the financial sector to be in a very robust state and therefore contribute its quota to growth. Because like we said, access to finance is key in terms of growth. Now, in a few months, let's say somewhere December, etc., then the issue of the debt exchange reared its head, and then we could talk of nothing except the debt exchange. And then we ask ourselves, you know, how did we get here? And the simple answer is that we borrowed beyond our capacity. Now, what a lot of us sometimes don't understand, maybe both at the national level and at the corporate level, especially, you see that because I work more with small businesses, is the fact that debt has a propensity to magnify what is already in existence. So you see, when you're doing very well and your model is working fine, you may be making losses because you are not working at the right scale. So then you are not maximizing and getting the economies of scale that would make it profitable. But ordinarily, you're on a trajectory, just that you are not doing a sizable, framework to be able to get the benefits. So that when you decide to add on debt to be able to get to the scale that will then yield the profits, you are only magnifying the existing efficiency. And so if the existing situation is that of a problem, cracks, inefficiencies, what have you, when you take on debt, all you do is to magnify these existing problems or challenges as the case may be. And I think in our case, the debt scenario actually served to show that we got some very interesting issues with our economy, both from the access to credit perspective, government borrowing literally at 30% exit. Now, government that is supposed to be risk-free, I think at this point our treasury element is making that a bit shaky for us. But default risk-free, all things being equal, is offering 35%. Then add the risk premium to the private sector, and you should be asking a minimum of what? 40% on the cost of capital to grow a business. Now, if you're going to take that as your cost of capital to grow the business, then it means that you need to make more than that minimum of 40%. It means you need to be making 50+% to pay up for other costs of doing business, because cost of capital alone is around what? 40%. Now that immediately minimizes the pool of available businesses and deals that we can get into. And whether we like it or not, the economy is a reflection of the businesses that and so whatever is being produced in the economy by our small businesses, by whatnot, together make up our industries, and together those industries make up the economy. So now when cost of capital and the whole terrain is inimical to the pursuit of productive business ventures, then what you see happening is that the economy is going to shrink, everything is going to shrink. And once the economy is shrinking, whatever monies the government has borrowed to be able to supposedly expand, because the underlying parameters are those of, lack of real productivity, inefficiency, we only serve to magnify it. And I think that in the long run, and with the debt exchange and everything, has also served to, how do I call it, sort of put some lack. There's a bit of the confidence within the market has actually dropped to an all-time low. People now panic. And once they begin to lose trust also in the financial system, that is a recipe for disaster, because usually when there's trust in the financial system, then if I have excess money, I'll put it in the financial system, because the financial sector typically is the platform that will link those of us who may have excess funds but no real plans for them with those of us as well who have good ideas, great ideas, but don't have the money. Usually the people with the ideas don't have the money. And then the people with the money sometimes don't have ideas per se that they would want to leverage on. One Indian professional I once met on a trip for advanced business management says, when your bank account is full, your brain somehow slows down and working. But when your bank account is empty, it works super fast, because then necessity is the mother of invention. So those who don't have the money sometimes get very wonderful ideas, and they'll need that money to now make it something that works for all. But with the current state of the economy and how the financial sector is panning out, I fear that if we don't take some serious steps quickly, and like Rosie said, to find ways and means of having access to capital with a realistic rate of return, all that can happen is that we're going to shrink and shrink and shrink. And so maybe we're hoping that when the president takes the podium to speak to us, we would hear something that will speak to allaying our fears, and more importantly, set the economy on the track to be able to have access to the requisite capital so we can grow our economy and then get everybody. Because once the economy begins to shrink, it is also going to throw a lot of people below the poverty line. And once they all fall below the poverty line, it drags everybody back, because then it's like an overloaded plate. When you've got too many dependents, you are not likely to be able to take off. So if we can set the parameters right and try to make sure that we minimize those who be falling into the poverty trap and the circles, then I believe that the potentials that we have as a nation, we should be able to tap into that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Vera. Rosie, what about you? What's your
the professor has spoken, isn't it?
But
she's touched on a number of very, very, very key points. I mean, the little I have to add is this: look, we're currently sitting in a situation where the currency has declined dramatically, right? We've lost a lot of the cedi's value. Interest rates have soared. Prices are now of goods and services, of essential goods and services, are now, skyrocketing. Just 3 days ago, I went and I was trying to do my regular pedicure, and the lady told me how much the price had gone up, and I said, you know what? Pedicure now me by force. And I went home quickly and I found a way to do it. And this is not even an essential service, but I just started to feel on a day-to-day basis how the current state of the economy is affecting everybody, right? So if there's unessential services that people can let go of, they're doing that. One of the things is that I think a lot of emphasis has been put on, the IMF deal. And my thoughts around it is, as important as that deal is, it's one step in the process of fixing the economic situation, the economic dilemma that we're currently in as a country. And I am hoping that as part of the address, what we'll start to get is clearer timelines on finally having something in place with IMF. I think that's important. But beyond that, what are the steps? What are the actions? I think I saw somewhere that the presidency was saying that the economy will be fixed in 2 years. What exactly are the actions beyond IMF coming into place that we're going to take? And how are the citizens going to be taken along on this journey? Because one other aspect that I think is really important is that the activities are clearly communicated and everybody begins to feel that they understand the steps that are being taken. We are in a situation right now where as citizens, we are becoming active participants. We no longer want to be passive, because a lot of the things that are happening are affecting us directly, are affecting our pockets. A lot of people are taking their small CDs, changing to dollars, and if you can find a way to get it out of the country, people are doing that. For some of us, we know that's not going to be good for the economy and that's not going to be sustainable. But if we are going to work on the problem and solve it, we want to know what the plans are in a lot more detail. And it shouldn't be a sentiment where it feels like, don't worry, we're working on it and we'll let you know. I think at this point, members of society need to be included and be informed. So the communication needs to be a lot clearer. And since the State of the Nation address was actually rescheduled from, I think, an earlier period in February to today, and today marks International Women's Day, I am hoping that there will be some conversations or commitments towards policies that will help enhance progress for women and women's initiatives, and really push the agenda of women. And looking forward to hearing a bit more on that during the State of the Nation as well. So yeah, looking forward to hearing the president speak, and I'm really optimistic that it will begin to instill the confidence that, as Vera has mentioned, has really waned, not just local confidence or confidence of the local people in Ghana, but the international confidence in Ghana as well has waned. And today should hopefully be one of those steps that begins to rebuild confidence in our economy.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you, Nanaoye,
yes,
especially.
I totally agree with you.
Before the State of the Nation's address, or after, we need to hear from the women in Parliament as well. I'm on their case today.
Yes.
We need to hear from them, not only celebrating the day, but saying something of significance that will have an impact on our country and on the status of women, while the status of women, CSW is going on in New York. Something must be said about the status of women in Ghana today.
Affirmative action, the affirmative action bill, what is happening to that?
Yes.
Yes. Domestic violence, gender-based violence against women, we're seeing an increase. What is happening to that also? And then women who have lost their jobs, either due to the closure of the banks and also post-COVID, what is happening. So there's a lot in terms of what women are going through presently. And so it'll be really good, like you said, to hear from
and as
our
Rosie
female.
mentioned, the address itself must have something to say about women. We hope that the president, who was a gender champion, and he had actually an appointment in West Africa.
Yes.
We need to hear from him on the status of women.
Yes.
Maybe lastly, quickly, what do you both think about the mayhem in Ashama? Rosie, Vera, Ashama?
Yeah, I was just reading about it this morning. Just a very, very sad situation. I understand that I think it was over 100 people that have now been arrested. I am hoping we will be able to allow the situation to go through legal processes. A lot of the time when, as you mentioned, mayhem like this happens, people take a lot of situations into their own hands because there's a lot of being upset. You know, there's a young man who was murdered, and it's easy to feel like the military or the police will want quick justice and to take situations into their own hands. So all I will say is just appealing that if people have been arrested, that they are taken through the legal system. We have a strong legal system in Ghana. This is why it exists, and that people do not take the law into their own hands.
Yeah, what I can also add, I can say this is a combination of a number of things, but this also speaks to the issue that maybe there are some elements within the fabric of our society that we want to take a second look at. I got snippets of the story, and I guess I was a bit worried because when it comes to these security agencies, despite everything, we also looked at them as the ones to hold up the law and order, get the systems working. And so whilst you don't hold brief that other segments of like the civilians can misbehave, you're also expecting that they would actually try to be above board. And so whenever they embroiled in such scenarios, it's a bit worrisome, because what it does is that depending on how the public perceives this whole thing, it can actually work to weaken their role in society. And for that matter, if we no longer trust them to be able to, or trust them to do what is right and to live by the very tenets of what makes for peace, order, etc., you find everybody wanting to take the law into their own hands, and that could be very dramatic. It's saddening and worrisome, because what it does that is that it makes it a bit you get a bit afraid as to what is happening. What if we got our security agencies and let's say yes, truly something like that has happened, can they trigger the right procedure to have the system work and pick up the miscreants? Because in the process of whatever, if they also take the law into their own hands, what they then do is to tell everybody, or to show everybody that when you are aggrieved, don't go through the system, do your own thing. And I don't think that is going to help us, because not everybody can do their own thing. But because sometimes one day, someday, today you may be doing what you think is right for you, but tomorrow somebody else doing what they think is right for them without going through the system could result in your mother, who is not close to you, being a victim and being murdered or being harmed, etc. So I think it's time we these incidences once in a while they become one too many, and it's quite worrisome, and we need to take a look at that. So it's sad. I'm struggling to put myself together on the issue, because I think it's not a good marker. It tells us that a lot is amiss, and we need to try to fix that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, thank you very much. So we're hoping that this issue is taken up. We're looking to the President of Ghana to speak to it in Parliament today. We're asking that the Ghana Armed Forces withdraw their press release, apologize to Ghanaians, and the Ghana Police, together with the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, take action, that the Ghana Armed Forces should understand that they cannot act with impunity. We are subject to the rule of law and subject to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Brigadier General Agriquashi should not be issuing such press releases for and on behalf of the Ghana Armed Forces. This is a law-abiding country. Our resources and our tax is used for the Ghana Armed Forces, and they have a clear mandate to protect us from external aggression. the resources and the training that the Ghana Armed Forces has does not permit them to commit the dastardly acts that they committed yesterday, and then to rub salt in our wounds by coming up with this irresponsible press release, which seeks to justify the actions that the armed forces took, and which does not even seek to apologize for the innocent persons who were caught up in this unlawful, supposedly intelligence-led operation. We will not accept such conduct from a public institution, especially a security public institution, the Ghana Armed Forces. Ghanaians will not accept this 66 years after we secured independence. Brigadier General Agre-Kwashe, withdraw your press release. Ghana Armed Forces, apologize and take action and act more responsibly next time.
Oh, Nana is fired up. I'm told, I'm reading also that the Minister of Defense, the Deputy Minister of Defense says categorically that the government will not offer any apology, which is a pity really, because this is not the time to be pulling rank or exerting a certain kind of power and ego, really. These are people's children who have been hurt and have been harmed, and we must therefore show compassion and deal with the issue for what it is, and not make it I am right, you are wrong kind of issue. I think that apology for the behavior of the military is required and must be rendered. We will take a break on this note and come back with some more. Holy Child is 70 years old. They are very young.
Very young. I mean, very young, if you ask me.
And we are going to host some of them on the show coming up next.
Oh, we're going to host them?
Yes, we are.
Bridget, that will be very interesting.
Indeed. I like Holy Child. My sister went there.
Yes, Marley went there.
Yes.
That's interesting. That will be a Hello, good morning. Welcome back to the AM show. I hope you're enjoying International Women's Day 2022. We had Rosie Finn, Executive Director, MasterCard Foundation, Professor Vera Fiador, and we also had Enyonam Manye. Professor Vera Fiador is an Associate Professor of Finance, and Enyonam is the founder of Count on Crops Hub. Thank you so very much for your time. Thank you for celebrating and commemorating International Women's Day with us. We're very grateful. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Prof. Vera, and thank you, Enyonam. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Thank you.
We have with us two beautiful ladies from an amazing school, the Holy Child School. We have Sefam Ekoa Lord Mensah. She's the organizing secretary of HOPSA 98. Welcome, Sefam. And we have Gifty Lavlati. Toyote. Ojeko.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gifty Love is a Speech Day Committee member. They both are old girls of Holy Child School. Holy Child is 77 years.
Yes.
Yes. Wesley Girls is 180.
Seniors. Yeah.
Yes. So we're happy that you're with us. Happy International Women's Day. You also do amazing work, and we're happy that you're celebrating Holy Child School, remembering the legacies and what you have learned and the friendships that you have made. Can you run us through your journey in terms of what you hope to do for your school?
Okay, so 6 months ago, we were on this very platform to launch our legacy fundraising. And the target was, or still is, 1 million Ghana cedis. Thankfully, we've been able to raise 70% of that amount. Yeah. And we've managed to complete 80-something% of the work. It's a renovation phase 2 of one of the newest houses. The house is 12 years old.
What's the house called?
Emisa.
Emisa
House, yes.
Emisa House,
yeah.
Okay.
So, and that is more of a legacy project. And with the tradition of Holy Child, 25 years after completing school, you host a speech day. And to add to that, you also present to the school a project named Legacy Project. So that is what we have been working on all this while. And the bigger or the final event will be on this very Saturday, our 77th speech and prize giving day. So for everything we have been doing for the past 6 months, it's towards this particular event, our speech day, and it happens to be our silver jubilee as well, 25 years after completing school.
Yeah, so do you remember your first day? Like, so it's 25 years since you left. That's the 1998 year group of Holy Child School. And you've talked about your legacy project, and you've raised 70%. Well done. I'm hoping we'll be able to raise the rest of the 30% right here and now.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yes. So, you know, you left school 25 years ago. Can you maybe just give Love, how was it? You know, how was it in Holy Child School 25 years ago? And what are, you know, like your memories?
Okay, so I came from a non-Catholic background, and I had lived a very sheltered life, you know. But coming to Holy Child School, before that, I was very shy and timid. I didn't know what to expect. But I remember one of my teachers said, Love, you've got to go to Holy Child. So here was I 25 years ago with, I mean, new girls all around. We were all shy and timid. We had very good memories. One of the best times was Angelus.
What is Angelus?
Yes, so Angelus were very scheduled prayer times. So 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and then 6 p.m. And you were required to pray for a minute. You know, so aside praying, it also taught us time management, because anything you were doing, you needed to do it before those times. So that was one of the very best, good memories that I took away with me. And I had a lot of fun, you know, throughout the school. Okay.
So. I really loved your uniform, let's say. I mean, like, the Wesley Girls green and yellow was a bit drab, and I really loved your, is it yellow and
like maroon?
Yeah,
or
maroon,
brown.
really, and even
It was really nice.
how it was styled.
Yes,
you know, it was really
yes.
it looked very good on you as adolescent girls. And one unique feature that Holy Child had was your bathrooms, very clean, and you had one huge structure.
Yes.
For but so I mean everybody were all very jealous of Holy Child's bathrooms. Yes.
Coming from our seniors, that's
yes.
That's nice.
That's nice. Yes.
Yes, and you know, we've had COVID, we've had our economic downturn and everything, and I'm really impressed that you've been able to raise 70%. But has it been easy? What has the journey been? And how do we raise the 30%? Because you only have like 2-3 days to Saturday. Perhaps.
So it hasn't been easy. So I remember, I think, was it yesterday, Gifty Love was reliving some of her experiences on our main platform, and some of them were hilarious, if recounting. But I can believe when she was going through that phase of getting even friends to give her that money, it won't be easy. Some would even refuse to pick your call. Others, when you say hello, and then they'll be like, yeah, I know you are coming for your money. In fact, as I sit here, I continue to tax people to still get us some money. So it has not been easy, but for the passion and for that zeal, you realize that people are always welcoming and willing to help. As you mentioned, things are difficult and tough, but you're getting people selflessly giving, and it's amazing within the space of 6 months just to raise this amount, and we are still counting on, I'm sure, but I'm going to pick your purse anyway.
Yes.
I know you open the purse for us
it's a
and
good cause.
get us something. Yes. And I was telling someone that for quality education, it can never be the call of just the government alone.
Yes.
Because the meager resources they have is being distributed among other sectors. And so for us to put in that effort, it has to be all stakeholders on board, including old students or past students. And the work we are doing, it's amazing. And I entreat every school, every old student of every school should get involved. I keep telling people that the difference between a category A school with a B and a C is not because the government gives us extra resources. No, it is the benevolent effort of all these other stakeholders that come on board that is making it a plus. So if you stay back and you don't give, then I'm sorry, you are depriving somebody of that experience you had. When we were there, we had our seniors coming through, and I could vividly remember the euphoria or the zeal that I saw them when they, I said, wow, I can't wait to come back.
So like what sports? You know, we used to talk about sports.
Yes.
Like, so, I mean, like, so what is it? I mean, how do you feel like going back to Holy Child over the weekend? And then, I mean, like, you're going to be in Cape Coast. What's the plan? You know, the exciting highlights so that we can watch. And we hope that we can watch virtually. Like,
yes,
we want to see all the pictures and all the fascinating.
We've made arrangements for all of that. And I think Gehe set a very good standard.
Oh, yes. So we painted Cape Coast yellow.
Yellow. But wait for us. We are coming in our brown and yellow. Yeah. So we have... For me, I'm really, really excited because there are some people I haven't seen in the past 25 years. Yeah. So I'm really excited. There's a lot of nostalgia, things we need to catch up on. So there's a line of activities that we have. It's going to be a week-long activity.
Okay, sorry, we'll have to wrap up. So I'm sure we'll post it. But sorry, we wish you all the best. Gifty Love, the Speech Day Committee member, and Sefam Ekwa Lord Mensa, Organizing Secretary of HOPSA 98. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You have done so well to go back to basics, to Holy Child, to say thank you for what the school has done, and to also add value to quality education, especially for girls in Ghana. So happy International Women's Day, and we wish you all the very best on Saturday. So maybe you can end by your school anthem.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Okay. So the first stanza.
Thou art the light, the bright and morning star, in whom we ever live and move and are. Thou art the keys to treasures new and old, that turns the toil of every day to gold.
Well done, well done.
Oh, little child.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
So thank you. It's been a wonderful time today on the AM show. We've had Holy Child and we've had Rosie and her team. And happy International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. We're really grateful and we've had a wonderful time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye. Bye from us all. Thanks.
Here as we await the arrival of His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who will be delivering the State of the Nation address. We'll also have representation from all arms of government, from the executive as well. Other members of the executive will be here. We'll also have the judiciary. And all of us are here gathered just in anticipation, waiting with bated breath for His Excellency the President, who around 10 o'clock thereabouts will be delivering the State of the Nation address. This address will cater for how far we have come as a nation, especially on the back of celebrating Independence Day on the 6th of March, and how much farther we have to go. And the members of parliament, not all of them are seated, but we are just waiting. I just also spotted the member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon, Honorable Al Hassan, as well. And as you can see in your shot, it's a beautiful scene here. We're just waiting for His Excellency to show up so that we can proceed with this ceremony. We've not been able to interact so far with any of the members of parliament who have gone directly into the chamber. The members of the diplomatic corps have also insisted, regardless of our attempts to interact with them, they have said that they would want to speak after the delivery of the State of the Nation address. So for now, this is what is happening here on the floor of Parliament as we gear up for the State of the Nation address. Back to you in the studio.